Mike Ryan cares about the Heat again, cares just enough to be made insane by Josh Richardson. And Amin Elhassan's got to step out for a second because he's got to do oddball. It's on every day except Monday. DraftKings Network, Charlotte Wilder. It's exploding. It's very popular. It's found its footing. It's found its voice. And now basketball season is here. So we've got to get as much out of Amin about the Heat before he goes. But, Mike, I'm generally worried about Amin's temperament. He just told me that the only reason he called Drew Holiday a corpse is because we called him. He was in the back of the car with his son. He was mad. He was
mad at Billy.
He's mad at everybody, and he's tired and delirious because this company is running him into the ground. And I just pointed to him and said, hey, I know you got to do oddball, but can you come in here? We've got a legitimate Heat panic on our hands.
A legitimate Heat panic.
Panic.
Thank you, Chris. No, it's last night was bad. That's a bad loss. That's a bad loss because they were up 15 in the middle of the second half, because that Nets team hasn't figured life out yet, because that Nets team was missing many of its better players, and perhaps most importantly, because that Nets team doesn't really have a guy other than Cam Thomas who can beat anybody off the dribble, but somehow the Miami Heat decided to overhelp on every dribble penetration, except off of Ben Simmons. They stayed home on Ben Simmons like white on rice.
What is that? What is that all about?
I have no idea.
Come on. We know Spo's good at coaching. What is that?
I think the players are just not executing well. Because
but I'm
it's the
saying
start of the season.
I don't need to. I don't. Come on, man. Late in that game was there for the winning.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a couple of different stops because the Nets didn't look right.
Mm-hmm.
But you're a front office expert, and every GM survey now says Spo is the best at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you sitting here telling me that they're staying to Ben Simmons when all of us who've been watching basketball for 3 years would tell you last 4 minutes of a game, go ahead. If he beats you, you've got no problems. Cover everybody else.
It's not even. Yeah, it's not even. I'm not saying that was a tactical decision. I'm just telling you what happened last night. When they were helping off everybody else other than Simmons. Simmons, who during that game at times looked worried about having the ball in his hands around the basket.
This is not something we've ever said about somebody and been right on Simmons. And you're telling me the end of the game, they're now 1-4.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost all 3 of their road games. That is not unexpected, but their players played last night. And Wick and Richardson are 2 for 18, and Mike Ryan is taunting me by text because the Heat think they're deeper this year. And I have to lend them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, if they tell me so-and-so and so-and-so are better than Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, if they think that's going to be deeper, I can't refute it based on, like, college scouting. I've seen the other 2 guys play well in the system, and now at the start of at the start of Josh Richardson's second career and Wick's first, they shit the bed last night.
Yeah, they're in deeper shit.
I mean, I think some of it you got to give it time, right? Some of it you just got to give, like for Jaquez.
They did start 2-5 last year.
But like specifically to those guys, Jaquez, like you got to give him time. This is his first time at the rodeo. He's gonna have to go through some growing pains.
He's like a year younger than Tyler Hero.
The idea, I get it, but like he's 5 years younger in NBA age, which is the important part.
I understand.
4 years. Or
What's
whatever
Josh Richardson's excuse?
Might be a little too old in that case.
Because I will never forgive them for
thing.
bringing Josh Richardson back into my life. I thought this chapter of my life was over.
Here's my thing about Josh. I thought, like, last night he struggled for sure, but that last shot, I was like, I'm okay with you struggling. You take open shots, you didn't make them. You got to the rim, kind of flubbed them, layup or whatever. That's cool. But, man, to come down with time on the clock and to put up a contested 3, like this is your big Carlton moment. I mean, that one was like, come on,
I will say this. Mike Ryan, in the history of his fandom, has not been more exasperated by the late game judgment of any player in the history of sports in this market more than Josh Richardson. I cannot think of somebody else that he trusts less. He is furious with Pat Riley for doing this all over again. And I'll ask you as the expert, though, if I tell you going on the last 5 years, Max Strus hasn't played and we don't know what it is they make of players. If the Heat believe Josh Richardson can replace or be better than Max Strus, or if they think they're getting that from somebody other than Max Strus.
That's not the math at all. That's not why. Right? Jeremy, you want to jump in?
They view Josh Richardson as a good perimeter defender who obviously can handle the ball. He's not going to be their primary point guard, but he's another player that's a versatile 3-and-D guy, quote unquote, and can handle the ball a little bit. But the math that they're doing on their rotation, when you add Haywood Highsmith, who looked good last night, when Caleb Martin comes back, when Kevin Love is there, likely those Jaquez and Richardson minutes that you saw last night, going forward, they're probably not a huge part of the rotation. You might get 10 Josh Richardson minutes a night, but it is not as simple as what we have seen so far from this team. And the struggles matter. They're talking about it like they matter. But to be able to look at this team and act like it's a complete product after 5 games would be disingenuous.
Chris Cody, help me out. What are you guys laughing about?
Midway through that, Mike's like, I can't listen to this. And he took his headphones off, but he's in the same room with them. So I'm like, Mike, I can still hear him, though.
Yeah.
And then he covered his ears.
He cannot believe that he's being haunted by this same judgment late in games. In a game when you're losing to the Nets, who are broken at home, and all you've done this season is beat the Pistons by 1 at home.
At least the Celtics don't look great.
That's the other thing. The Celtics scored 75 in the first half last night, and I'm like, holy shit, then it's 80 in the second half.
155 points?
It's all right.
What?
It's all right. Miami Heat got penicillin coming their way.
To be fair. Wow, by the way, the worst team in the NBA. As I said last night, I was like, that's a bad loss, but all right. But you can't lose on Friday. You can't lose to those clowns.
As disastrous as I think this season's going to end up come June.
No.
And as locked in as I am.
Right, come June.
Yeah.
He threw it all the way out.
good runaway.
As locked in as I am on that under 46.5, there is like zero doubt in my mind they're winning the NBA's in-season tournament.
Is Friday a must-win?
Is
that what Amin just said?
Well, it's the in-season tournament. You better win it.
Well, this is the round robin stage. So you can lose, but yes.
You can't lose to the Wizards.
It's a must-win because it's the Wizards.
If you're taking home that hardware.
This is an early must-win.
Did you see what they did?
Oh, the
last
Wizards
night?
are great. No, it is so wonderful in the NBA to see a team that's just like, bleep it. Yeah, like
Game 4,
like, just whatever.
Game 4.
We'll be a traveling band of 9 wins this season, and Jordan Poole's going to put up the occasional 39.
I want to say something really quick. You know, a lot of times when things happen in the NBA, we, the public, say, oh, this guy, such and such. And then these people always come out and say, you guys don't know the full story. Actually, this guy's awesome. Actually, you guys don't understand. Just wait until he gets something in a different situation. Then you'll see what happened. And then they get in that situation and you're like, nope, he's exactly what we thought he was. Jordan Poole is exactly who we thought he was when they won a championship. Like, I don't like him, but, whatever. He had some good games. Last year, he was really bad, but everyone's like, oh, it's because of the punch or whatever. And then this offseason, I had to listen to Draymond and Andre Iguodala. And I was like, no, you guys don't understand. That guy's really good. He's a good player. He's a competitor. He's smart and da-da-da-da. And then he goes out there, and I'm like, nope, he's exactly what I thought he was. Stop telling me that I don't have the inside story or the full picture. For those who don't know, I walked around the entire arena yesterday showing people this clip because it's amazing.
It's true, he did.
So the Hawks are coming down. They hit ahead. There's a steal. Kuzma gets it. He pitches ahead to an uncontested Jordan Poole, who throws it up off the glass.
They're down 20.
Wow, Dan, I'm telling the story. I'm telling the story.
You took his punchline, man.
God damn it, Dan. That was the whole point of the story.
You should go to Oddball.
Oh, I am going to go to Oddball.
Yeah.
Man.
I'm sorry he did that to you.
Storytelling. Learn it sometime.
So what happened?
The art of conversation. It's art. It's an art.
Speaking of which, thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for bringing up the art of conversation, because I would say for everything that happened with us at ESPN, the steps that led to Chris Cody and everything that happened at the end, much earlier than even the art of conversation, which was a place that we tripped over each other, was that ESPN wanted me out of the local hour to do 3 national hours. And the local hour's always been my favorite hour. I would say that that's almost where the problem started, that they wanted me to be doing other things, and the most precious thing to me, which was the local hour, was something that they wanted to and did end up taking me out of. But this is a fun local week. This has always been my favorite hour. Tony hasn't been in it for a long time. This is Andrew Hamilton's first appearance.
Andrew?
Hey guys, I'm the town crier. Hear ye, hear ye.
What Alexander Hamilton, excuse me.
There you go.
I blew the joke. But
it's a running theme for this segment.
This is the second time I did that. I didn't realize, I thought if you're telling the story that the relevant detail was that they were down 20 while they were showboating.
He was building up to that.
But
That
I
was
didn't
the
think I didn't
punchline.
think that was the big payoff.
I mean, that was the thing that was funny about it, Dan. It's okay. I found a way to tackle this country's weight problem. I think you should only be able to order pizzas if you have the Heat promo code.
We're gonna be
Right,
down bad this year then.
because right now the whole Tri-County area is paying for full-ass price pizzas.
How mad are you?
How mad am I? I'm not that mad, and I'm just like last year. I was I told you so guy until I was epically wrong with the greatest upset for my money in postseason history. They shoved it down my throat. Credit to them, but I think there's an arrogance that came with that. I think they got lucky. They got hot at the right time. I think you'll look back on that run last year and say that might have been fluky, especially when you compare it to this season. If this roster stays the same, you are looking at a play-in team at best. Everybody else got better. They got worse. Now, that was a story that I went into last season with, and they go in as an 8 seed, and they go on this majestic run that we haven't really seen in that sport in a full season. Sans lockout. I just don't see it with this team. They're bad. Their whole big plan was bringing in Josh Richardson and developing guys. Look, I got excited watching Jovic in the offseason playing Euro ball. That guy can't get a minute on this team. That guy, who looked great, can't get a minute on this team. All of it's a little puzzling to me, and they'll probably figure it out and find their form, and they'll get hot, and Cortez will be tweeting again because he goes into hiding every time they go on these stretches, and Jeremy will be saying they throw babies in the stands, and this is all super exciting, and I'm prepared for the run. But this team is definitely not championship caliber.
All right, this is what's happening here, I would say. He is,
Unless it's a midseason tournament, which they will absolutely win.
which begins Friday. And Mike, I would simply say to you and the audience that at 1-4, I'm just pleased that you're angry now as opposed to indifferent, which is what you were much of last season.
I'm angry and I'm winning bets, Dan.
When they couldn't shoot last season, and then you hopped aboard, and it was a lot of fun, and it distorted. Not unlike they gave all that money to Deion Waiters and Hassan Whiteside when that team beat the Warriors in one game and went like 31-11 the second half of the season. It is possible that you think that that's recreatable, what just happened last year. Mike's dismissing it with got lucky. And I'm like, the way I saw Giannis beaten in that first round, that didn't look like luck to me.
No, the timing of them ascending to the mean was probably the only fortunate thing. They got fortunate with some things. But look, they beat the Bucks' ass. And anytime someone says Giannis was hurt, I'm always jumping back down their throats. They got hot at a good time, and they were worthy Eastern Conference champions. But I think when you couple that with this year, look, we're not too far removed from them also making a run, us feeling good about ourselves, them being injured in the finals, and then saying we'll get them next year, and then they're promptly swept out of the first round. All right, so there is very recent history for a letdown season following a run to the finals, and they're just not good. They're a year older. They got to do something with this roster. And Mickey Arison can cryptically tweet all he wants about thinking that they know better, and he can fire back however he wants at rumors that maybe Bradley Beal going into the luxury tax was something that they didn't have interest in, and they can lie and tell us Tyler Hero wasn't a part of these packages, but they failed this offseason. They fail a lot when it comes to getting guys that can improve this roster. They need to improve this roster. It is plain as day, guys.
I think we need a shot of Jeremy in the bottom right of the corner when we're talking Heat around here because it's just so funny to see his face.
Well, but let's have this out. I'd like to have this out between Mike's fandom is earned. He loves this team. He cares about this team. The standard is where it is.
I'm called a homer all the time. No one's keeping it more real than me right now. This team is objectively bad, but they will win the NBA midseason.
He is keeping it
tournament.
real, Dan.
So Jeremy, you've spent the entire time shaking your founding father wig in dismay because you have supplanted Mike Ryan as Homer guy. Mike Ryan's analysis has been harsh. He really dislikes Josh Richardson, one of his least favorite players ever. And now he's got him in a backcourt with Kyle Lowry. Like, this is not a lot of fun to watch.
I just grinded my molars into powder.
This is not a lot of fun to watch if you love the standard that this team is set, and you got
I got the Brent Venables neck right now. Don't you dare say Kyle Lowry around me.
It was so much easier when Mike was indifferent last year, but now 5 games in, you got him enraged.
My soul is possessed by the late Bobby Knight. I will kill you if you say Kyle Lowry around me.
What this Heat team is doing to Mike is cruel. I mean, go ahead, put Antoine Walker out there while you're at it.
Hey, he had stones.
Tippy toe
threes.
That's right.
2006 forever. Show me those stones,
All right.
Kyle Lowry.
So, Jeremy, go ahead. And Chris, can you help me navigate this? Because what I was beginning to say about the local hour and local journalism, you're going to Germany this weekend.
Yes, I am.
Where did that come from?
This is, but now Meadowlark Media is going to start making moves after Hollywood, and Chris Cody's going with he's going
Guten Tag.
he's going Chiefs Dolphins, but Jeremy is an up and comer in this business, and we have dressed him up today. Which punishment is this? Which team lost?
Oh, man, I don't know. I've lost so many weeks in a row at this point. I have so many punishments to do. So this is the first of several. Probably the Arizona Cardinals because I got them like 3 weeks in a row.
All right, so you're a founding father guy, and you're furious with everything Mike is saying because the thing I wanted to ask Chris Cody is Jeremy biased? Can you take what he's talking about?
Having him be critical of the Miami Heat puts him in a difficult position.
I can be critical. This team struggled the first 5 games of this season. I won't call them garbage because they're not
Say
garbage.
Josh Richards trash.
I will not do that. I think that at this point, it's fair to criticize their start. It's fair to say that even the Miami Heat themselves, after last night's game, said there needs to be a sense of urgency in fixing the problems that they have. That said, when you look at a 5-game sample, 1 game played without Jimmy Butler in the lineup, 1 game played against the Bucks without Bam in the lineup, no Caleb Martin at all to start the season. He's the guy who we were all clamoring to be the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. No Kevin Love for a handful of games here. Your rotation probably, as I said before, will not include as many Jaime Jaquez or Josh Richardson minutes, 2 guys who were a huge part of the reason that game went south yesterday, despite Jaquez being in a positive plus-minus because he played with the starting unit that was dominating for most of that game. You had 1 stretch with a bench that won't be your final bench rotation that really blew that game. And no, there's no reason to believe that this team, as presently constructed with the rotation that you saw last night, would be a great championship caliber team. But to act like there, 1, won't be minor tweaks made throughout this season at some point to probably assure a little defense at the backup center, potentially a little bit at the point guard position, would be naive. And when you look at this team as presently constructed, you haven't seen it yet. Last night was the first night of Haywood Highsmith, who's going to be the next guy that everybody goes, oh man, how'd they do that again?
Yeah, so I'm naive for thinking that the Miami Heat will fail in improving the roster.
I think as I'm in the middle here,
I'm
Dan,
naive now.
I think Mike's biased towards Josh Richardson. Jeremy clearly is a little biased towards the Heat. I think right in the middle, they're fine. Let's not panic. I mean, it's hard
That's
to
all
put,
I'm saying, by the
good
way.
ref
Just
right
don't
there.
panic. That's it.
Let
I'm
them
not
fight.
saying that it's not bad right now. Okay. I'm saying don't panic after 5
We
games.
are asking a lot of Caleb Martin, though. Every time we have these conversations the last few weeks, you reference Caleb being out, and I know he's a nice player, but
he is their
we're
probably
asking,
third best player.
That's
at
what
this
I mean.
point.
He needs to be
Fourth best
that
player.
for this.
Do I sound like I'm panicking? I'm not panicking. I would panic if I had high expectations for this team. I don't. They're meeting my expectations.
I get so
right now.
confused by how the results don't influence the analysis. right? Like, that's the part that I think is
1-4.
confusing. No, the results of the last several seasons. Because all of Heat Twitter, and Mike Ryan is an amalgamation of what Heat Twitter looks like right now, freaks out after 5 regular season games.
The results of the last few seasons is you have 2 runs to the finals, which were unbelievable, that people will try to poke holes in, and I will shoot them down and counter-argue all day for. But you also got swept out in embarrassing fashion the year after. You had a play-in.
You had a
play-in. I know you want to hold up the finals. That's great. That's another banner that we can take pride in and beating the Celtics. But also, they were 3 minutes away from not making the goddamn thing. Yeah. So I think that there's plenty over the last 4 years to be like, there is a very clear opportunity to improve this team. And I'm being called naive for doubting their ability to do so when they have shown you who they are time and time again in that regard.
This is a lot of process over result for an organization and a fan base that's supposed to be result-oriented, not process.
Chris Cody.
All you have right now is the results, and it's 1-4.
And you have also on top of the 1-4 that Mike Ryan has been pissed at this team for long before last playoffs.
I was angry at them for beating Chicago last year. Like I wanted Wemby, who now I despise.
Don't do that.
I
Do not do that. Do not do that. I
Have you
swear to
seen
God.
those photos? I mean, look at you guys. You pro Wemby guys. It's like rooting for Bezos. What are you doing?
Can you imagine if we would have gotten Wemby the Heat, all of a sudden Mike would have been completely the opposite side of that?
What is wrong with that? You say that as if it's a gotcha.
No, but
Duh.
it
is a gotcha.
I believe that in this room we have all the forms of Heat fandom. I believe that Mike is the cartoon monster belched by Heat Twitter. And he is emotional, and the standard is the standard. And
look at my Leo DiCaprio in The Departed hand. It's not moving. I'm not emotional when it comes to this team.
I understand, but you've been back and forth. You've swung back and forth with this team.
I swung once when they went on arguably the most unpredictable run ever.
Jeremy's been consistently the just pro Heat.
Bought and
everything.
paid for.
But I've been right
Well,
the whole freaking time.
He's been consistently bought and paid for.
right
Dan.
the whole
All
time.
right, calm down, settle down, Jeremy. The thing, so you got Chris Cody's another.
Called the preseason game a playoff like
I
atmosphere.
feel like
Cole Slider did that. I did not.
I feel like I have pretty good perspective with these teams.
I believe that Chris
I don't
Cody.
fly.
No,
I stay right here in the middle.
No, it's not just that you're in the middle. You are, yes, but you have to understand, Chris Cody descended from the Homerist of Homer trees. Chris Cody, who's going to Germany, and he'll be in a Dolphin cheerleading outfit. He is not going to be there as a journalist. He's going to be like, hey, look at me. I'm in Germany, and I'm a Dolphin fan. What am I doing here?
How many Das Boots consumed?
You are looking at it, and you're like, hey, Heat, yeah, you'll probably be interesting this year. Catch you in the playoffs, and it'll be great, and it'll be fun.
I glanced at the game last night.
No, but Tony's a different kind. I want to know how Tony feels about what's bouncing around in this room, because after 5 games, you're getting all the Heat fandoms because Heat fans desperately want this season to matter. Never mind whether they win or go 500. They just want to have a reason to care about this team.
The problem is you have a lot of different aspects, like you said, Dan. Like you've got Jeremy bought and paid for,
do
who's
have
always going
different
to be the
ass.
homer. You've got Mike, who's a little bit more reasonable when it comes to things, right? Like he'll tell it how it is. He's been 100%, 100 this entire time.
More reasonable?
A little bit more reasonable than
Mike's
Jeremy.
reasonable.
I can somehow keep it 200.
It does. He keeps it 1,000, by the way. But to me, it's tough because you see this team and you know you don't have the guys. I'm just saying, you don't have the guys.
They've
You
got
don't have the
3
horses.
pretty good guys, man.
Yeah, but Dan, the Celtics scored 155 points. They look incredible.
Oh man, the Celtics
Bucks are
scoring
incredible.
in the regular season again. Cool.
Oh, this guy.
I got to see Jaylen Brown do it in the playoffs.
For real?
Before I buy
Sure,
what they're
okay.
doing in the regular
Dribble with your
season.
left hand.
Okay, sure. When you know you don't have the guys, you know you don't have the guys. Dan, I don't see the guys on this roster.
Dude, Caleb Martin did outplay Jaylen Brown last year.
You don't
Sure.
have, you don't have the guys, but I think a bigger indictment is they're failing to get the guys. They know that they need to get more guys. That's why they're talking to these other teams. And they stop short. Or they approach things with arrogance. That's bewildering to me.
Jeremy, you'll agree with this. Tyler Hero.
Yes.
Don't,
Yeah, that
please
was
don't.
good.
Please don't.
Good.
He has been tremendous.
I
That's
mean,
nice.
nice little player.
Maybe we can flip him finally.
Oh my God.
You don't at all when you look at the Heat organization, okay, I'm just curious about this. As you become Heat Twitter and cartoon manifestation, enraged at Josh Richardson's experience.
How bad are those culture jerseys?
Terrible.
you look at the Heat and you say befuddling arrogance, and you don't see it in yourself, right?
What? Me? Me?
Let's keep it at 1,000.
I'm taking it up to 300 now.
Wow.
Chris Cody's going to Germany. I can't believe it. We're a big media company that sends the child of nepotism
I work hard.
into his journalistic career highlight, right?
Oh, this is great. I'm excited, a little nervous because I'm going alone. I mean, Juju will be there a little after me, but I've never traveled alone.
Where are you
really.
going to in Germany? Frankfurt?
Yeah.
Oh, some good games in the Bundesliga this week.
Is there?
Yeah.
Saturday?
Did you see? Hey, my against the spread pick. Bayer Leverkusen, they were tied 2-2 in the 88th minute. They won that thing 5-2.
Against the spread.
Tony,
Sounds like hosiery.
Tony, come on. Yes, it does. Roy, thank you for this.
You're welcome.
Ooh, they play Hoffenheim.
But I'm convinced that what Mike is doing here, what he is entertaining himself by giving us a barrage of phrases, just a speed bag of barrage of things that we don't know about. Because me and Tony are having the same reaction. I can't believe that you just did a callback to your bet from yesterday.
Wow, there's a prize.
That you only made because you wanted to show off.
Bayer Leverkusen? That's not showing off.
No,
That's an easy one.
I know, but you are doing a slalom course through the Bundesliga of a bunch of phrases when making bets that are aggressively soccer. Aggressively.
Aggressively soccer. They're just soccer. What's aggressively soccer?
It's aggressive. Nil.
-1.5? Dude, they won that thing by 3, and they were tied in the 88th minute. I told you, this team's unstoppable.
I want to talk about Chiefs and Dolphins, and I want to talk about what Chris Cody is going to be doing in Germany, because I learned just like Mike did, hey, Chris Cody's going to Germany. And your dad hasn't made a trip like that. You are out in front of the Miami Herald. I don't think the Miami Herald is sending a correspondent.
My dad's already trying to latch on to it. He's like, you think you could do a hit for me for the Greg Cody show and I'll call you? And it's like, Dad, no.
That's good. I want to bring your father-son beefs on air. I think it's uncovered. It's on the Greg Cody Show with Greg Cody. Ooh, I said it correctly that time.
Featuring.
I can't do it when he's here. I can't do it when he's here. You don't go through your beefs enough, and people think you're being mean to your father.
Yeah, people call me Chris Le Batard on that show.
Your father.
Ooh, Freiburg versus Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Oh, wow.
Your father is absolutely now, while paying none of the freight and underpaying you indisputably, now is going to want correspondence from you live from Germany because the Miami Herald's not sending what is supposed to be the greatest journalist in the family.
His ears perked up when he heard I was going. He's like, ooh, I could do something with that.
Content.
Right, but we're paying so that we can do something with that.
Oh, I'm gonna do so much too. I'm gonna eat some Wiener Schnitzel, a few brats.
Be careful with the brats. Last time they got you in trouble.
They did.
Yeah.
Sir Honorable Tony Claudiud speaks now.
What?
Nailed it.
Thank you, Town Crier.
Town Crier.
Town Crier.
Dan, I don't know if you heard, if you were listening. Chris went to an Oktoberfest last week, had a couple brats. His tummy got,
Can we pull up the foot? Can you guys get the
There
foot?
was a bit of a
down?
neutral zone infraction on a guy's foot inside the stall. I don't know if
I
you
was
saw
in a way
I saw
too
that.
small.
He was lining up like Christian
You know
Wilkins.
what? I saw that.
Next time, I'm gonna put my foot across the thing and just be like, "Hey, I'm here too."
What is it that's so creepy about the sandaled foot outside the bathroom?
It's the dogs
stall?
being out, Dano. Yeah,
He had a
the
wide
toes.
stance too,
Oh, God.
and it's
My
the
boy
thong
was
sandal
struggling.
specifically.
Let's
And if I remember correctly, the second toe was very curled.
let's
Oh, God,
all right,
no.
let's
please.
talk about why it is.
I love the video team panicking right now to scroll through their videos.
No, we can describe it while they look for it. This is fine. They'll catch up. I simply want to point out to the audience that I thought this was an internet sensation that creeped me out a little bit. Like the entire, I'm not here for all the foot fetishes on the internet, but you do you if you are. But when all of a sudden,
There it is.
What's going
Look how close it is to my shoe.
know, this
You
is
had to have broken that.
That guy's toe is crazy.
I gotta go wider there. I gotta fight back.
I think
I can't put up with that.
I think you went toe poke. That is a weird foot.
Somebody tweeted me that that's a sign for swinging.
Zoom in.
Like someone's like, "Hey,
No,
hello."
don't zoom in.
Enhance.
Stop.
Enhance.
But yeah, so that happened to me after a few brats.
you are a swinger. You know, we established that. Maybe somebody knew who you were.
I know. I mean, I did get recognized there. Maybe he followed me in. He's
That
like, "This is how I'll get him."
I have seen that foot so many times in the Keys.
the keys.
Every public bathroom in the Keys, that foot is there. The further south,
The big chill.
no, if you go further south, there'll be 7 feet in there, just like that. Oh,
That's a power move. I don't like that one bit. I don't like that one.
no, nobody
bit.
does. Nobody does. You got. Come on. You gotta put a boundary there.
My sound was on too, so you could hear the camera, the picture get taken.
Is that the kind of footage you're gonna footage? Is
I
that?
Oh, no.
I had to throw it in the shit
Enhance.
chat. I had to throw it in the
Enhance.
poop chat. That's why I took the picture. I'm like, I'm taking a poop.
But
This is
are you
interesting.
gonna go to Germany to bring?
Oh God! All right.
Computer enhance.
What's the opposite of enhance?
No,
De-hance.
Oh, that's
That foot is gripped really hard. You know he's going
Guys,
through it
all
right
right,
now.
zoom out.
He's literally
All right, that's
digging
enough.
in.
Zoom out, please.
Whatever's
Zoom
going
out.
on,
Zoom
he
out.
is digging in. Look at how white the toes are.
White knuckling it.
They are. He is white knuckling it.
He is digged in.
I'm just imagining Chris in a power move just reaching down and going, "This little piggy went to the market."
I mean, I thought about it. Good times.
Hopefully more of that in Germany.
Really? I don't think I want any more of chubby sausages gripping the floor with a maniacal zeal
Really clenching.
because of whatever it is that was going on in that
The
stall.
brats.
Perhaps you can take a photo of that at Heidenheim
Other things going on
versus
locally.
Stuttgart, which is actually always reminds me of Stugotz.
That's it.
Yeah, Stuttgart.
Stugotz has sent me a tweet, or I'm sorry, he has sent me a text where he is, I don't know if I should publicize this or not, but he's got some thoughts, and he can't be here to share them, but he doesn't want. How do I say this? Because everyone gets mad at me whenever I do the Trulogy. He doesn't want us eulogizing Bobby Knight. I'll understate this in a way that celebrates Bobby Knight, and he is firing off texts enraged because he's evidently heard some Bobby Knight celebrated today. How am I going to handle the Trulogy?
There's been a bunch of celebration of Bobby Knight. Look, if you're looking at results and what a dude meant to an area of the country, to a program, Bobby Knight is considered one of the greatest coaches ever, and he won a lot of games. And if you don't have anything nice to say in these moments, you should probably refrain.
Okay.
Word association, throwing chair.
I mean, there's a lot. Invoking racism, abuse. There's a lot there. Casual racism, not so casual racism. But, you judge somebody by the morals of their time, I guess.
I think of the color red
And
when I
even
think
by-
of Bobby.
And even by the time, he was a lot.
He had, we'll say it most kindly, I guess, an anger problem that was obvious to all, and a string of controversies that made him the most polarizing sports figure anywhere in authority, former military discipline kind of guy.
Yeah,
who
birthed
wins,
Coach K, didn't he?
wins 3 championships.
Not literally, Chris. That would have been impressive.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
And made his rage more understandable. But 3 national championships and the only undefeated season in that sport since 1976.
Yeah, and one of the more colorful characters in the history of the sport. And I know that there was some controversy around his homecoming in Indiana, and I think even the most cynical could find aspects of that heartwarming because he was battling Alzheimer's, and they did it so he could experience it as best as he could. And I think anyone listening to this knows what a horrible way that is to go, to see a loved one deteriorate right before you. There's a shell there, but the person, and in this case, a person that had so much life, color, attitude to them, to see that light diminished, it has to be crushing, which is why the family has asked for donations to Alzheimer's research in lieu of flowers. But also, in addition to all his accomplishments, to some people, he was awful. He was not great. There's videos of him choking players. Dan, you could speak to him because a lot of his offenses came before I was even born. But Bobby Knight, his history is a complicated one.
He was abusive, and a coach like that would not be allowed to exist because he was physical with his players, and he was he's the start of coach as power figure, as the media age blossoms, and you've got like college basketball. One of the biggest things in America is becoming that because Bobby Knight is leading these Indiana teams to 3 championships, and his only NBA All-Star ever was Isaiah Thomas. So, that's he was leader of men, and his anger was encouraged and filed under leadership and discipline, and he graduated players, and he was all-powerful, and he was abusive, and he did things with that power. When you say of the time, coaches of the time, whatever the most bloated and egomaniacal of those things that get celebrated by America are, because this was leader guy. This is how you led this guy in sports, and it came with controversies galore because he had an anger problem. I don't even know if
it built an archetype that it was often imitated, not the results.
And did it in a place that you're coming off of Hoosiers and the idea of Hoosiers that has no ordained right to be that kind of good at basketball. Why were they that good at basketball? Because Bob Knight led men the right way. And it had racist undercurrents, and overt racisms. I could go through the list of controversies. He's the most among the most scandalous coaches ever in terms of abusive with power. There aren't more like that, but you're not supposed to say that.
We had plenty of in the history of the show. This show's been around for this show's been around for almost 20 years, and we've done these shows. I think that if you're a Bobby Knight fan, and your argument to hearing this is there's a time and place for this, we certainly did it as it was happening. So I think we should probably back off today out of respect for the ones that loved him.
Okay, fine.
No, I mean 3 seconds, Roy. Go.
All right. Well, the last thing I
No,
saw.
I
him
was
do-
joking.
Okay. The last thing I saw.
Hear you. That's where you
I'm just
go.
saying.
It's a funny thing with college football that the University of Miami football team, I felt, after 5 games, even though all they'd done is beaten Texas A&M, I felt because of simply what I saw from the size and speed of their offensive and defensive lines and how much better they looked than last year. I thought that Van Dyke would get enough protection all season to be able to do what he did to Texas A&M, a good defense in the SEC, to everybody. But that offensive line has remained good when I've been watching these football games, and the quarterback has made some decisions where I've been like, man, this guy was better his first year with some of this stuff when he was under duress, and I'm going to say it felt more athletic back then because I feel like he's been beaten up a little bit. And Van Dyke all of a sudden is part of the problem, Mike, and taking you the next step where you're winning a game in overtime against Clemson and all the games are close and Virginia can beat North Carolina and you're in a conference that's not strong except for FSU.
Yeah, largely over the last month, the biggest.
The Honorable Mike Ryan takes the floor.
You gonna do that every time? What is this?
Seamless.
So I'm supposed to spin a wheel that then gives a random name of each of you, and then interrupt with the town crier's shriek the first time that person speaks in the segment.
Don't be afraid to skip me.
Yeah.
Is this Billy Gill? Did he create this?
I don't know that it is, but 100% yes.
It's Jeremy.
Evil cat.
Are you going to do that every time I talk or just at the start?
No, that's just the first time you speak in the segment. So you're good. Everybody's clear.
You spin a wheel? I don't understand. Okay, no, I don't understand.
It's not going to slow down the show.
Not at all.
Definitely not. I promise.
So largely over the last month, the biggest issue facing this team is Tyler Van Dyke and the offense. And you're right to point out that he's very well protected because Pro Football Focus ran the numbers. And, yeah, there was maybe one or two instances where he had to roll out of the pocket because there was what to the eye would seem as pressure, but that's not on the offensive line. Those are coverage pressures. He was actually pressured 0 times. The offensive line gave up 0 pressures in that game, and he should have had 3 picks. He is banged up. He had a bad bruise. He's got some rib issues. He entered the season with a hand. I think what happened in that Georgia Tech game, remember Georgia Tech switched defensive coordinators midweek. And when you compare, I'm done talking about Tyler of Rhett Lashley. I'm done. That was 2 years ago. Let's talk about Tyler from the first 4 games of the season. He was making quick decisions, but he was also playing defenses that realized, let's try to get after him. Let's try to beat this offensive line. Now what you're seeing is because their inability to, because Miami's offensive line is so good, you're seeing defenses force Tyler to make decisions. And he is really struggling making reads.
That's an important part of the game.
It is. It is. But there are ways to fix that. The good news is you take that ability, you just say, all right, if you're a one-read quarterback, here's your read. We're going to make the game easy for you. And I think you turn Tyler into a bit of a game manager. While everyone was hyperbolic over Tyler a couple of years ago, I wanted to see more. I think there's a large enough sample now to know what Tyler is. He's a guy that needs everything to be absolutely perfect for him. And when health is one of those factors that is not perfect for him, maybe he pushes things a little bit too much. The read on Restrepo for that first interception against Virginia was the right read. It was just a bad throw. And typically, Tyler has been accurate, so health should be framing some of this stuff. But I see a guy that once things go south, let's use a Middle Tennessee's sake from last year as an example, when things don't start going his way, he tends to dig in deeper into it and sink. I'm not questioning mental toughness. It just seems as though he's a front-running quarterback.
That's an indictment, though. What you're saying there is a step I'm not willing to take, even as we professionalize these people.
Dan, you have 2.5 years of sample, and typically you know what Tyler you're going to have.
But Mike,
midway through the second quarter.
Look, man, this is what I'm saying to you. Understood on the criticism. That's what the last couple of seasons have revealed or shown. You don't trust this person to take you down the field, but you keep skipping over a part that to me is dehumanizing, and I know we're paying these guys now.
Yeah, you're paying Tyler Van Dyke a lot.
When you say banged up and you skip past it.
I didn't.
No, I know. But I mean, you eventually have to. You framed it.
No, I'm not going to allow you to make an excuse
Mike,
for him. He's out there. He didn't play one of the games.
I know. I'm not. It's not an excuse that I'm making for him. I'm simply telling you that you go through and it's a hand and it's this and it's this. I have a hard time making the assessment on someone's toughness or strength late in games based on how tough I think he is when he's playing through an assortment of things that I don't know what it's like to play through.
Okay, fair enough. That's why I frame them. But he's also out there. And this staff has not been shy about if he's not good to go, we're not going to put him out there. Dating back to week 1 when he had a finger injury, dating back to when they thought he was going to be good and fine to play against Clemson, and they said, you know what, wear your sweats. You're flatly not going out there. That game shouldn't have been close last week. It shouldn't have been. It was close because Tyler Van Dyke kept Virginia close. And he's been hurting the team.
The crazy thing is he was a first-round pick 2 years ago. Everybody was like, oh, this is the guy coming out of Miami. Like, we've already sold it. All right, he's a first-round pick. And now 2 years into his career, we're looking at saying, can he even be the best quarterback on his team?
This is the part that's puzzling to me, Mike, and you've corrected me now a couple of times where you go, let's not talk about the guy as a freshman who came out bombs away and surprised all of us in a season that had some expectations and then didn't because no one was expecting anything from Van Dyke. And in those 4 games, 400-yard games, 300-yard games, bombing the ball all over the field with maybe better receivers than this. But that guy no longer exists. And I'm watching a guy physically deteriorate in ways that are obvious. He missed games, and you go hand and everything else.
I mean, how much easier can you make it for him, though?
No, but that's the thing. What I'm telling you, and what I want the audience to know, that two things are absolutely true about this Miami team, and they're different than they were last year. That offensive line is clearly good. It is protecting him. I don't see a lot of quarterbacks safer in general than Van Dyke.
He's got a good running game. He's got a good offensive line. Like, you're doing all you can for the guy. Again, I don't care about Rhett Lashley is putting up huge numbers at SMU. That offense played to perceived strengths of Tyler Van Dyke. That's fine. He looked damn good against Texas A&M. And if you want to poo-poo that victory, fine. I'm here to tell you that's a different Texas A&M team. They're much better with Wegman than they are with Max Johnson. That was a really good defense that Tyler Van Dyke carved up. And I do think holding the quarterback and the offense accountable is fine, especially coming off an offseason where you were in a battle to keep him with Alabama. We're not talking about a child here.
You hear that, Jeremy? That is how you keep a team that you're clearly biased towards accountable.
Well, I mean, Mike pays for that team. I'm kind of the opposite.
Oh.
Yeah, they pay you.
Mike, you have made two errors here, I would say. You didn't use the Tyler sound from Dabo every time. I think because the audience is going to get sick of you talking about Tyler Van Dyke, I believe you should just drop this in anytime you mention Tyler, because you're spitting some things at him. And we also have
Spitting truth.
We have some video.
What do you want from me? I'm serious. What do you, the listener, I know you're just going to get upset because the Miami Hurricanes aren't your team. And yet I find it funny every year where we post a Cornelder thing. It's like one of the great bits in the history of the show. It's totally born out of my Miami Hurricanes fandom. I'm a Heat fan. I'm a Hurricanes fan. I've been super critical. I haven't been if you don't like what I'm saying, you just don't like me. It's not because I'm being a homer. Could I be a pompous asshole on the air in front of this mic? Fine. But that's why you don't like me. Don't paint me with this broad brush that I'm a Heat homer and that I'm a Hurricanes homer. No one keeps it more real than me.
Chris Cody, what are you doing hovering around the proceedings here?
Is it being a helping hand? Trying to get me
Teammate, good teammate, Dano.
Trying to find Tyler.
Oh, okay.
Tyler.
Oh, look, I like you vying for the executive producer position while Mike Ryan is
being
talking.
a team guy, Dan.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I do want the Tyler, but I also want that video of the North Carolina State coach because Mike Ryan has been reasonable, not homer, totally fair, critical Mike Ryan has been now for 3 weeks burying everyone in wanting to talk about Reuben Bain. And
Hurricane Bain.
I mean,
Bain time.
And I've wanted him several times in Los Angeles here. My annoyance is coast to coast. And then I watched him play. I mean, yes. And
He's Lawrence Taylor.
And, well, he's very strong.
Aaron Donald.
And it is fun to watch offensive linemen flail backwards with their arms thrown because he has put a hand in their chest. I'm confused by it.
Dan, you and I went to a game together where it was against Bethune-Cookman, and I saw 44 check in, and this was when his snap count was more limited because they were healthier. And I said, watch 44 here, and he dominated that play. It was a forced fumble on the play. That's easy to do when it's Bethune-Cookman, you're probably saying. When you're doing that against Clemson and Virginia week in, week out as a true freshman, I'm telling you, guys like this, Leonard Taylor's probably going to be a first-round pick. He's probably going to be top 20. And that shocks a lot of people in the audience. That if you aren't familiar as a defensive tackle for Miami, the scouts love him. But he doesn't flash all that much. He'll flash against Temple occasionally. It's hard to tell when a defensive tackle is dominating the game. Now, Reuben Bain lines up on the outside. He lines up on the inside. Wherever you line him up, he is just totally destroying plays, totally nuking things. He stands out in a way at that position that is special, that the casual sports fan who doesn't know much about technique or defensive line play can say, holy cow, that guy is amazing. And now opposing coaches are giving voice to it, Dan.
You know, their defense is led by their defensive line, and they've got a freshman defensive lineman, 44. Bain is one of the best freshman D linemen I've ever seen. He is really playing well. A guy that you like watching. Wish he's not on their sideline, but it's going to be a great opportunity to play against another great defensive lineman.
Look at Mike Ryan smiling. Look at him.
Ear to ear.
Reasonable Mike Ryan. Look at him, thrilled, in love.
This was one of my projects.
In love.
I love Reuben Bain since he was in high school. He's been the best. He was the best player in the state for 2 years running. And he was a 4-star, and the only reason he was a 4-star was because the measurables probably weren't there, and we'll see when he enters the draft. Hopefully Aaron Donald changed the conversation a little bit. But it's crazy that I'm invoking Aaron Donald this early into Reuben Bain's career. He is a special player. Everybody that was talking about the recruitment of Reuben Bain said not only is he an amazing talent, not only is he undervalued because the guy's playing like a 6-star. Forget 4-star.
Oh my God!
like an 8-star.
Oh my God, Chris!
Yeah, he's
Chris,
a 6-star.
Wait a minute.
He's a 6-star.
That's never happened on this show before.
He's a 6-star.
Chris,
That's insane.
That's not true. There's no such thing. There's no such thing.
Have you watched
You've
Reuben?
gone too far.
You have
You've
watched
gone
Reuben Bain.
too far.
If there's ever a thing, it's Reuben Hurricane Bain.